The floor of the observation cell hummed beneath Lura's bare feet, pulsing with a rhythm of containment fields designed to hold creatures far more dangerous than she. And yet, the cell next to hers held something far more terrifying. Human. Lura had never seen one before, only read of them in the war briefings and border threat assessments, always labeled with the same terms: unpredictable, inventive, dangerous. She'd been a cadet aboard the Valari dread cruiser Stellar Penance when they intercepted the Terran vessel in disputed space. A brief battle. Her ship had boarded theirs. And in the chaos she'd been taken. Now she was a prisoner of war, along with the sole surviving human. He sat cross-legged in his cell, humming softly, scribbling furiously on a piece of parchment with, of all things, a sharpened stick. Lura's nictitating membrane blinked involuntarily. It wasn't a stick. It was a writing tool. Primitive. Non-digital. No built-in tech. Just wood and graphite. A pencil, if her memory served. She didn't understand. Why would a Terran warrior waste time with writing? Did he not know they were both to be handed over to the Zerati warlords for interrogation? Or worse? Still he scribbled, page after page, always glancing at the guard rotations, always with that infuriating, calm expression. She watched him for days. When the Zerati guards dragged her from her cell, she expected pain. Instead, they interrogated her gently, almost politely. Offered her nutrition gels, blankets, even music. It was disorienting. But the next day, when she passed the human cell again, she noticed something odd. A guard was standing there, reading the parchment. He stared. The next day there were 2 guards. And they weren't just reading. They were arguing over it. She heard phrases like, "But that character wouldn't say that," and, "No, it's symbolic, you have to see the metaphor." Metaphor. Lura blinked again, deeply confused. What weapon was he using? Days passed. Then weeks. The guards changed. Their armor changed. Their demeanor changed. Once cold and brutal, they now debated philosophical theories and the morality of conquest with language that echoed something distinctly Terran. It wasn't long before she saw one of them with a makeshift copy of the human's parchment, reciting lines aloud with reverence. Another quoted it to a superior. The human just smiled and kept writing. One morning, an explosion shook the station. Lura leapt to her feet, heart hammering. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Smoke crept under her door. But when it opened, it wasn't a guard who stood there. It was the human. He held nothing but his writing tool and a small stack of folded pages. "You're coming with me," he said. Lura stared at him. "You escaped your cell." With that, she pointed to the pencil. He smiled. "Technically, they let me out. They think I'm a prophet now. Or a revolutionary. Maybe both." "What did you write?" "A story," he said simply. "About a tyrant. About a soldier who defied him. About hope." They resonated with it. "You caused a mutiny," she whispered, stunned. He chuckled. "No, they did. I just gave them a reason. They made it to the hangar undetected, or rather, unbothered. Many of the guards they passed simply nodded at him, saluting him with a strange hand gesture he'd taught them, thumb and pinky raised, fingers folded. "They think it's sacred now," he explained to her as they climbed into a stolen dropship. Lura glanced at the crude stacks of copied parchment in the hangar bins, handed from soldier to soldier like sacred relics. "They're calling you the ink blade." He winced. "Bit dramatic, don't you think? You brought down a Zerati war frigate with fiction." "I told you," he said as the hangar doors parted and stars stretched before them. "You don't always need a sword to cut something down." They settled on a neutral moon, just beyond the demilitarized zone. Lura paced around the temporary shelter they'd established in the craggy canyon beneath twin suns. "You never told me," she said one day, "why you even had that pencil." He looked up from his writing pad, a small fire crackling nearby. "It was a gift. My daughter gave it to me before I left Earth," she said. "Write everything down, Daddy, so I'll know you weren't just a soldier." Lura sat slowly. "You turned war into literature." "Not quite," he said. "I just reminded them of what they'd forgotten, that ideas can be sharper than blades, that stories can change minds more than orders ever could." Weeks later, the Zerati sent emissaries. Not with weapons but words. They'd come to negotiate. "Because of you," Lura whispered after the delegation left. "They want peace. Real peace." "Not because of me," the human replied, tucking the pencil behind his ear. "Because of what they read. Because someone told them that even monsters can change." "Do you think they really will?" "I don't know," he said. "But I gave them the idea. Now it's theirs." Months turned into years. The human, known now throughout the quadrant as the Ink Blade, never stopped writing. His stories spread like wildfire, whispered in barracks, quoted in classrooms, painted on war-torn walls. The Zerati laid down arms. The Valari revised their protocols. And one day, a statue was raised on the moon where it all began. Not of a man holding a rifle, but of a man holding a pencil. Lura stood before it, older now, her once black battle armor dulled by time and weather. Beside her stood the human, scribbling notes on his pad. She turned to him. "You defeated an empire. And you didn't fire a single shot." He looked up. "I just reminded them of who they could be." She smiled then, for the first time in years. "And now," she said, "what are you writing?" He grinned. "A sequel.